Into order. Roll call.
We're
You got
good.
you're good? Okay. The minutes.
I read them, I was not here. If it's okay with you guys, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
You have a second? Any discussion on them? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, Public Works. I guess you're it.
All right. Some of the comments that were brought up in the last meeting was spigot at the soccer field that has been replaced. Jeff and his guys have taken the fence down that was failing at Betty's ball field, so that's been addressed. Did some mulching, weed eating, lots of mowing. Easter event up there with Easter egg hunt. Jeff did a good job letting the grass grow.
Have you found the last Easter egg yet?
I did find the last Easter egg. Found one. So everything in the park's shaping up nicely.
Was it a numbered one?
I don't know. Jeff grabbed it before I could.
So we got a chocolate rabbit.
I found multiple eggs, but none of them were numbered.
What was that, Lions Club?
Lions Club. Yeah.
Yeah, is there any?
Usually you don't find those till July,
But
the last Easter egg.
16th of April.
we tried to mow them all up.
Okay.
Limbs, branches after each of the windstorms we've had, the high winds, been picked up in all the parks. There was vandalism to the Valley Spring Park. Still have no leads on that as far as I'm aware. They tore the paper towel dispensers apart. They broke sinks off the walls. They took the paper towels out of the dispensers after they broke them, and we will TP'd the trees and wrapped the building in it, and all the benches, the playground equipment. They threw rocks in the toilets, broke the sink off the wall. Once we were out there within about 30 minutes of hearing about it.
So is there any way we can do something to monitor those?
Yeah.
Put cameras up outside?
For a couple $100, you can buy a DVR recording system
Okay.
that will record like a 30-day loop of the footage. So in that facility specifically, we have a room in the back, mechanical room, where we could house the unit and mount the cameras around the corners of the building. So.
When you say you were there within 30 minutes, did this happen during the day?
No, of them being notified.
Being notified.
Oh, being notified, okay.
Yeah.
Somebody posted it to Facebook.
Okay.
Went out there and seen it. So
a mom was taking her kids to play, so she posted it because she didn't know who to call. She didn't know who was, if it was city or somebody with the Valley Springs subdivision. Like, she didn't know who actually owned the park in general. So.
Okay.
I was actually, I think I was in a doctor's appointment at the time, waiting, so I was looking at Facebook and just happened to see it like 2 minutes after it was posted, and I replied, we would be en route. So as soon as the appointment was over, I ran right over.
So are the bathrooms closed?
They're back open now.
They are back.
Jeff's fixed them.
So what did you put, what kind of sinks did you put back in them?
We bought another wall mount sink that was like the one there.
Okay,
And then a new paper towel holder, still waiting on a soap dispenser.
okay.
But cleaned up all the broken porcelain everywhere.
Okay.
Removed the rock from the toilet. Luckily, the toilet was still in good shape, so.
The bathrooms were closed and locked until all the repairs were complete.
Do we normally close the bathrooms after a certain time at night, or they're open 24/7 once they're open in the spring?
Typically open, so.
So that's something you can consider if you want to send it to the Board of Aldermen and say, let's close the bathrooms at dusk. The police department would be responsible for it.
Yeah.
The police, however, don't want to be responsible that if it doesn't get done because they get a call, that all that blame doesn't get put on them, that, well, you should have done this and you should have done that. They'll do it because they remember, but there are going to be times when they can't make it over there.
If we were to go with the idea of cameras, is that something the city is willing to pay, or is that something that should come out of our budget? How does
Out of your budget.
But if you're thinking it's only a couple $100s,
Yeah.
I don't think that's bad for the
I
amount
don't
of
either.
damage that keeps happening.
No, not at all.
Well, this last instant cost a lot more than a couple $100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think even just the cameras being there in general will deter people at least a little bit from thinking twice about doing it.
Yeah.
What are the hours of the park itself?
Dawn to dusk.
Dawn to dusk?
Pierre Marquette is open till 11, and then all the other parks are dawn to dusk.
So assuming that the cost issue can be addressed, there's really no reason to have the bathroom open after the park is closed. In other words, we don't want it to be a restroom for just midnight travelers. So it's not intended to serve that purpose. So,
People traveling through aren't going to even notice the park in the dark.
Correct. Keep
Right.
going,
They're going to go
roads.
to roads.
so if we can figure out a way to do it and handle it, it would make sense to lock the bathrooms when the park is closed.
But then somebody could break in even if it's locked.
Oh, sure,
I like the idea of the camera.
or
and-
both.
Yeah, because some of those cameras, they're up high, you don't get a good view. Would these have a good,
The roof line at the bathroom house isn't so high that you wouldn't have like an aerial view. You could get them coming and going or from a different angle.
oh, okay, okay. Because, if you see anything, these cameras, they show, different ones like somebody's broken into a store, or robbed a, convenience store, and it's always like this, and you really can't see a good picture of the culprit.
And I'm not saying you're going to get every angle, but
Yeah.
give us a fighting chance.
So what do we have in our budget?
There's some deterrent effect just having the camera there.
Yeah, yeah.
According
It's not
to this-
100%, but it's
Yeah.
some.
According to this, $4,809.32 based on this paper.
So,
That is what the minutes. Do you think one camera will do the job?
It's a system that comes with, you can buy different ones. They have 8 different cameras, 8 channels. So you'd have 1 or 2 on each corner, maybe one right directly in front of the walkway to the bathroom doors. So you could watch the building all the way around.
Are there motion lights around the bathroom? Or would the
There's
camera-
no motion lights up there, no.
The only lights from the street lights?
Well, there is a light between the 2 doors that is on in the evenings, I've
Oh,
noticed.
I've never been out there at night.
And it actually shines pretty bright for that area. You can see the whole front of the restrooms lit up.
Oh, okay.
What's our history on this kind of thing? This is not the first time?
No.
No,
Park bathrooms getting vandalized.
We've had issues in the city park before,
Once or
many
twice a
times.
year.
Yeah.
so it costs us more every time it gets vandalized. That's why.
Is Valley Spring the main place where it happens?
The last time it was Main Street, wasn't it?
Main
And
Street.
Pierre
Like just like
Marquette.
6 months ago, it was like right before we closed down Main Street, got hit hard.
Did your Marquette get hit? That's all.
So would it be, if you say it's only a couple $100, would it be worth our while to put cameras on Main Street and, buy 2 sets, put one on Main Street, one out in Valley Spring?
Main Street does have the mechanical room that would house it, could house it.
Okay.
The ones in the bathroom, or Pierre Marquette do not.
Do not, yeah, but,
But in
And I think
future, they
until, I was gonna
could.
say, until we were to make those
Yeah, those
updates anyway, I
changes.
wouldn't worry about putting anything at Pierre Marquette.
yeah. So if we have enough in the budget, do I hear a motion to,
I'll make a motion that we buy 2 of them and put one at Valley Springs Park and one at downtown Main Street Park.
do I have a second?
I second that motion.
Any other discussion on it? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
We've talked enough about having cameras
Yeah.
now that this is happening.
So then you will look into, you will get them
It's
and
only April.
let us,
I get credit card tomorrow and I'll buy them.
okay, good. That sounds good.
And to confirm, is there are you all making a recommendation for the Board of Aldermen to consider discussing locking the restrooms overnight, or?
I don't see why we would keep them open after the park is closed.
Yeah, I agree. If it's supposed to be, from morning till evening, and we said most people will end up using roads or somewhere down the road, there's no reason.
Yeah. The only time I think, if like Valley has a football game,
Then they can go to the bathroom.
Well, that's,
yeah, they can go, but,
Well, yeah.
they're there, so,
you could even modify the situation on a one-on-one basis, but is there anything involved in closing the park, or is it just dawn to dusk noted by notice? There's no closing of any gates or anything like that. So it would be a labor issue.
It's just having somebody that's around to do that.
Cops would do it.
Yeah, the cops would have to do it in the evening and then possibly Alliance in the morning.
Yeah, we would unlock them in the mornings.
But it would go to the Board of Aldermen to discuss in a work session with the chief and Alliance to work out.
Do you know how they would feel about it?
That's why we would have the work session to discuss it with them.
This is my discussions with the chief. I think they used to do it, then they had times when they didn't get there.
yeah.
Park board was, it was inconsistent, so they said, well, forget it, don't worry about it. So now we're back to potentially locking them again.
Didn't Mark open and close the
The one on
bathrooms in Main Street?
Main
before?
Street, well, I think when Jan was at the Main Street Inn, I think he may have
Just walked over.
walked over and unlocked them, and Mark did also, so, yeah. Somebody in the neighborhood did it.
Because having PD would do it would probably also require having essentially a master key or rekeying the restrooms.
Well, we
Right?
just have, get a key made.
But are we I guess we're just talking about Valley Springs Park only to
Just
lock.
get 2 keys. I mean,
Oh.
one key for each. Make sure they have the same
Yeah.
lock on both doors. Well, the problem may be also is they're going to have to log it on weekends because we don't have anybody on duty on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, it's
They would be locked on the weekends.
they'd either be
Yeah, that
locked the
wouldn't work.
entire weekend or open the entire weekend.
Yeah.
Water plant staff.
Yeah, but pulling them out of, that's not really their job.
Did the incident happen over the weekend? Was it during the week?
It was a Thursday night into Friday morning because it was the start of Easter break, essentially for the schools, if it were a teenager or middle school, high school student doing it.
I don't know if the police would see it this way, but there's protection value in them pulling up, getting out of the car, locking up the restroom, just going through that process it's a partial deterrent. just, they're getting out of their vehicles and, but they might not see it that way, but. Well, I would make a motion that the park board recommend that the Board of Aldermen seriously consider locking the bathrooms at appropriate times to enhance the security of those facilities and see what they come up with in consultation with the police department.
We have a second?
I'll second that.
Any more discussion?
My only concern would be weekends. I feel like it'd have to be open the whole weekend then, because that's when families are going.
Yeah.
There's no
Well,
way that we could have
that's
it locked.
The aldermen
Yeah.
should give that full
They-
consideration, of
Yeah.
course.
Okay. All those in favor?
All right.
Anybody opposed? Okay. All right. The dog park, how did it get cleaned up and,
Yes.
okay, so,
Dog park was shut down, entire park was disinfected,
okay,
so,
good. And it's back open again?
yes.
And there's plenty of bags for people to clean their dog.
Plenty of bags, and people need to make sure that they get their dogs with their shots, their updates, because that's part of the problem as well. Because that's one of the shots that you get with your distemper is also a parvo shot, and that apparently is the issue.
And check for worms. I mean, every dog should have like every human's supposed to have a yearly checkup, because if you got a dog with roundworm or ring, whatever, that can cause problems in the feces. So, okay, so we're back open on that. Anything else for Public Works? Anybody got anything?
No, I checked with Gary. Valley is having field day up at the city park,
Okay.
the 6th of May. And I've contacted Gary already. I believe that we're okay. We're good to go on that one.
Okay.
We had it there last year for the first time, and it was absolutely amazing. The space and not trampling over each other and giving the junior high their own set. It was just so good to have it, more options. So I just want to bring up that we're having it again at the city park.
Okay, old business,
You said May 6th.
May 6th is a
master plan, the fundraising, we've kind of put a hold on that till we figure out what we're doing. The trail, anybody?
Just on the state trail, we won't find anything out until October, November.
While we're talking about trails, not necessarily with the master plan, but I've mentioned to you, we talked previously about the trail out in Valley Spring Park. Happy, Steve, Jeff, and I met last week to discuss replacing that trail, and I think we all feel comfortable with setting a tentative date of spring of 2023 for getting that completed, because over the summer, their time's going to be dedicated primarily to mowing and tending to all of that. So depending on how the late summer, fall goes and into the winter, we're pretty comfortable with setting the spring of 2023 with the hope of being open the first week of March, which would coincide with Read Across America Week and would be a great partnership with the library and a story walk. We don't have cost estimates yet. That'll come later when we can start planning a little bit more. There'll be some things to figure out with some stormwater issues on a section of the trail and a few things like that, but we kind of discussed what it would look like, where it followed basically the same path as that upper loop right now. It'd be about a quarter mile long.
Speaking of that trail, I got a phone call earlier, said there's a tree down across the bridge. I'm going to look at it when I go out tonight.
On the upper bridge or the lower bridge?
Overbridge.
Oh, okay. The section that we discussed, it's kind of overgrown and hazardous.
Yeah.
So,
I'm actually hoping it was the tree I was going to have to cut down, but
okay.
Okay.
But if we can complete the trail sooner, we obviously will. We'll give you updates as we get through the planning, but there might not be a whole lot of updates throughout the summer on that. But yeah.
Okay.
So are we wanting to have Gary make signs?
Oh, yeah.
Saying-
That's something that we talked about as well, is because we are planning on replacing this trail, we kind of felt that it'd be a waste of resources to try to maintain the trail right now and mulch it and spend the days getting it into shape. So we thought about posting signs and to the Facebook page, letting the public know that there's a new trail coming and that we will be abandoning maintenance on this until further notice.
So we're not going to let it fall apart.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
We're still going to keep it looking nice, but we're not going to make any improvements.
Yeah. We're not going
There's
to.
plenty of mulch there. There's a good foot of mulch
Yeah.
on the trail.
Yeah,
I was gonna
they'll keep
say.
the weeds cut down and things like that, but we're not going to go through and reline all the rip-rap rocks. Instead, we might take them away, but
Okay.
we don't want to over-dedicate the resources to that if we're just going to tear it apart later in the year.
Okay. So, anything on the playground?
Yes, I contacted Kendra with Little Tykes, and we met with her. Lauren, Ashley, and I met with her the Friday before Easter. Ashley had found a playground that went on sale, so we kind of just wanted to sit down with her and pick her brain about what we could use to put in that up by the big pavilion. So she's working on some stuff. She's going to try and get us some samples. I don't know if she's reached out to you or if you've spoken with Happy about that.
Oh, the source.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we know we need to, if we go this route, if we do this, we have to have bids. She said there is, it's on one of these. And I wish I could remember the name of it. Sourcewell Innovations or something like that. She wondered if that would suffice. Okay, perfect. Because then, so this company, if we use this Sourcewell, it basically guarantees that the price she gives us is the lowest cost and has,
It's already been through the bid process. We don't have to go through another bid.
so then that way we can just get a price from her and we're done. So we don't have to price around. So Ashley had found one. She's going to work on using what Ashley found and then incorporating also a swing and some other little climbing agents. Lauren and I's only concern with it was that as a mom, the more I keep going back to it, it is for ages 5 through 12, and all of these colors can be changed. You guys are welcome to pass that around. She said we can pick whatever colors we want with it. Lauren and I's original vision wasn't this, and I know Lauren feels very strongly about hers. I'll send that around. Lauren's big thing has always been nature. She's always wanted something that's been more focused on the outdoors and making it look like it's a piece of the naturescape. So they're definitely two different visions. So my only concern with this one, and I did bring it up at our meeting, was it's for ages 5 through 12. Kendra did say that the highest point, the slides are 6 feet tall. I'm only 5'4". I have small kids, and so putting this playground up by the big pavilion, my concern being that this is where families are, if we're trying to get families to gather there, they have other options that are for 2 through 12, so they have some like lower areas for smaller children. I'm also bigger, so I can't go to the top of this and slide down this slide. I just would not fit. So taking my 2-year-old on this, I'm not tall enough to reach to assist them to go down the slide. So the heights on this one is a concern. It's just something that I'm kind of passionate about. If I'm going to go to a playground to take my kids, I have to be able to, and I'm not a helicopter mom either. I tend to be like, I've got 4 boys, go figure it out. So I think it's trying to find a happy medium too. So Kendra is putting a bunch of things together for us. I threw out to see if she could get it by tonight, and she kind of laughed because we just met, 2 weeks ago. So she will have it for us for sure at the next meeting. So she'll have some drawings for us, some pricing, and then we can tweak things too. So we can kind of combine ideas. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and after we had met, I had taken Kendra up to the site to kind of let her see the area, and she was concerned about like the space that we have is actually smaller than what it looks like because of the hillside that it's essentially on. The flattest areas where the swings are now, kind of up by the pavilion. So her initial thinking was that would have to be where a larger structure would go if we were putting something in. So we might even have to size down and things like that, or do quite a bit of dirt work around it to try to create a flatter space for it. But
Price-wise, she did, if we were to go with something like this, now granted, this one was on sale, $13,000 less, so it was $26,500 basically, compared to $40,000. So with the fall zone and the materials to do that, we figured it was going to be about $75,000 to $100,000 to do everything we want for that play area, swings, the fall zone.
yeah, and that's looking at a more accessible surfacing, whether that's poured in place rubberized surfacing, rubber mats, like square mats that get kind of placed together. She was also going to include a quote with, it's kind of like a rubberized mulch, but it gets kind of compacted to where it can be a bit more of an accessible surface. So she's going to include a couple different options like that in her quotes, but that's why the price jumped so high, because there are certain requirements actually with your fall zone materials on playgrounds, and to try to be as ADA compliant as we can. As a municipality, we need to try to we need to incorporate ADA compliance and whatnot. This is the playgrounds that Little Tykes offers here are ADA compliant. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're inclusive, where inclusive offers kind of some different ramps and accessibility to upper levels of their playgrounds, but ADA compliant has a certain number of ground level amenities on the play structure, and then also includes a step where they can transfer from a wheelchair to the steps. So at minimum, we have to be compliant with ADA standards and have those steps and accessible pathways. If we don't have the entire fall zone as a solid, like poured in place rubber surface, we just have to have at least pathways to like the entry points and the exit points of it. So it gets kind of confusing, but Kendra's great at kind of talking us through all those and telling us what makes sense and what doesn't. But that's why the price can go from looking at a $26,000 playground to we're going to be at about $100,000 for something like this. And this would be even our smaller of the play structures that would be going in the park. So
She did say too that they would, if we chose to have our crews install it, they would supply like a foreman that come and kind of guide you guys like that first day, maybe 2 days if you would need it. But then it knocks down the labor costs. We wouldn't have to pay for the labor, which is several $1,000s. So.
And just the same, it could be our crews plus volunteers,
Yes, plus volunteers. We can make it a community.
or knowledgeable volunteers. You know, if there were some, you know, Alliance wouldn't necessarily have to be involved, but we certainly would want them to some degree. So there's options there to try to cut down the cost.
ADA guidelines tend to be a moving target. They evolve. So we want to make sure we're up to the minute on whatever those are. I presume Kendra is a salesperson, but
yes,
she's
pretty knowledgeable about what needs to be where, and she seems to be pretty with it and up to date on the guidelines. So
Yeah, and especially when you're getting a, I forgot what they call these, is it composite structure? I believe composite playground, I think is what they call it, where it's already manufactured, like this is the whole unit that goes together, this slide, this, you know, it's not like we're building from scratch and choosing how this goes together. It'd be a set structure, so they're pretty good about these days making sure that they're ADA compliant.
So
And she,
Tell you were anywhere close to here, might have something similar to that? Maybe just to look at it, just to get an idea?
This particular
No.
playground? No, she didn't say that. Whenever I pointed, when we were chatting and pointed out, she's like, that's my favorite one, but nobody ever picks it. But she said it, so I don't know, but I totally hear Sam's concern. And I'm open to whatever. I just wanted to get the ball rolling with the conversation. And like I said, we might end up having to size down in order to
at our area.
to fit the area and get a.
this is for the playground up by the pavilion.
Yes.
Correct.
The other
The other one will be
playground
different.
will be totally
And
different.
that was where I should have clarified too. So the adventure playground will have a lot more, I see it being geared more towards the older kids. So that's why I felt very strongly that whatever we put up here has to be accessible for our smaller kids, something that they can do too, because I don't know that, 2 through 5-year-olds are going to be able to do a lot of what the adventure playground is going to have. So
What's the cost difference between the two?
between this one and
Adventure one?
the adventure one's going to be probably closer to that 100,000 mark for just the structure.
And-
250
Yeah.
pounds.
I was about to say, at the
Yeah.
end of it, you're at about 200, 250, because you're going to have different, it's going to be a little bit more spread out. You're going to have larger structures that are going to require larger fall zones and things like that.
And a lot more landscaping
Yeah.
to make it level where it's supposed to go, because that is a hillside.
Yeah.
Is that where your vision and Lauren's could maybe be balanced and have this for the smaller one and then more nature
More nature for the bigger one.
for the bigger one? Is that a possibility?
Possibly, yeah. And that's why when we talked about this one, I won't lie, and I told Ashley I don't like these colors.
Yeah.
But if we do something where the adventure playground is more that nature look, we did pick out colors that Kendra's going to use. They're more tans and greens.
Blends in.
Yeah, to where it blends in more and it's not so bright orange. And so it'll kind of, it's not matchy, but it at least keeps everything kind of neutral.
And if we're going to paint the pavilions and the picnic areas in kind of a more neutral tone, we can complement the two.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything on the bathrooms? Nothing.
That was a good
No.
report, by the way.
It was, yes. Okay.
No, as far as the restroom go, I am hoping to get the aldermen to consider some work sessions with what they can do to help out, but it's nothing to bank on at this time.
Okay. Mark wanted me to ask about what's going on with the sidewalk at Main Street Park on the Jefferson Street side.
Gary, didn't he say he bought all the materials for it? It just needed to be done?
I don't.
I was thinking we had approved like months ago to have the materials.
I think he approved in late 2020. It was 2021, I believe, though, before the.
Catch me up on this project.
So it's on Jefferson, so Main Street Park, there's a sidewalk that, runs along Main Street, but it was also supposed to continue down Jefferson along the side, and it's not there. So it was approved at one of our meetings. I don't remember which one.
It was
but-
approved back when we approved the whole design for the Main Street Park, which was about a decade ago.
So we're going to city-type sidewalk.
Yeah.
It would just connect to where there's a little sidewalk that goes from the restrooms to Jefferson Street.
Yeah.
So it would go from the corner of Main to that, at least, right? Because we're not sending it all the way to Valley, are we?
All the way to Valley.
I thought it was supposed to go all the way,
Okay.
yes.
I guess to allow parking
I'm going
and
to
stuff.
actually try and catch the rest of that walk.
Gotcha.
So it's the first time you've heard of it?
Yeah, at this point, I'll say I'll get current pricing on materials and see
Okay.
if they line up with what's available.
Okay.
I don't think he would have bought stuff yet.
I don't think,
I mean, it's exposed aggregate.
Yeah, it's
so
concrete.
it's-
The forming,
Yeah,
that's
you
it. Yeah.
get your concrete there, pour it, and then put your acid on there, then wash it off the next day or whatever, so.
And did that get matching curb on that?
Yeah.
okay.
And then we got a manhole cover there that's right in the way as well.
Okay, so, all right, that's anything else on Main Street Park? Anything else on Valley Spring? How about Pinkley Park? Anything going there? Okay. Any new business?
I just want to ask Happy, well, the bicycle race was a huge success, but what kind of people did we get throughout the town? Did you hear much about, like, were the restaurants really busy? I know Ciro's was slammed and they did really, really well, but I've talked to Common Grounds and she said they were really, really busy. I was just curious did we have enough people beside the racers to filter through our little community the day of the race? Do you know?
So we've heard mixed reports. Retailers said it wasn't much of an impact.
Okay.
But I think the restaurants, Rick's, Audubon's, they saw an uptick in clientele, whereas the others, I just don't know if people didn't go there. I know they stuck around. We had, what I had understood, counted about 40 people that stuck around after the race, so out of your 417 with them, and then whoever else was with them. And they would stick around most of the afternoon, and some of them showed up that night for Taste of St. Genevieve. So I think there was some peripheral traffic afterwards that turned out well. Even at the race itself, Ciro's did really good business.
They did.
And they'll definitely do pizza next year. They were trying their sandwiches and the like. And
Well, they sold the pizza for $2, and instead of a large being cut to 12 slices, they cut them to 8. So the pieces were really, really big, and they were $2, which is very reasonable. So Lauren, I'm sure Lauren had a lot to do with what they ate that day.
Well, so she,
Very smart choice of.
when we talked, she thought that bikers would want some healthy choices, so that's what she provided, and she said that did not go over well.
The pizza
And
did.
but the pizza was an oops. One of her workers had made like 8 pizzas an hour early than they were supposed to be made for, so she said just bring them over, and she said they were gone like that. She said they were finishing the race and people were like paying as they were like riding by, so she said the pizzas went like
Hard
crazy.
to believe. Cyclists are junkies.
And it complimented the few of the bridges that were complimentary.
When you just rode 70 miles and you just burned 3,000, 4,000 calories, last thing you need is a bowl of rice. They want calories.
They were calories, yeah.
Yeah, my son was upset because by the time he finished, I didn't get him pizza. Like, I'm supposed to know to line up and buy pizza, but he didn't get any, so.
Yeah, she said if they come back next year that she would definitely not do what she did, and she would look at doing pizzas and stuff, so.
So I think there was some interest built off of that for next year. More participation.
And some
I thought
lessons
it went
learned
amazing.
for everybody involved too.
I mean, to think you were going to get 150 and ended up with 417, I mean, that was just mind-boggling. Be prepared for 750 next year.
Yeah.
Easy. Because most of the people, if not all the people, at least I talked to, and I stuck around with Happy, I just went around and just socialized with everybody. I did not hear a single negative thing, maybe beside the lion incident, but that's beside the point. Yeah, people that were there, they were very, very happy. And we started bouncing some ideas of things that maybe we can do while the people that are racing, maybe their families can stick around and do certain things. So there's a lot of ideas that can be brought up to keep them entertained.
What if we threw the after party for next year?
That
So,
was Taste of St. Genevieve. Technically, that was it.
well, yeah, but that was a few hours later.
Right.
So some of the events that I do, like up in St. Louis, like the charitable athletic events, there's an after party like immediately after where you kind of just hang out and socialize. Taste of St. Genevieve is a great one, but it is a few hours later. So it is an opportunity for people to leave, essentially. So
Yeah, so
I don't know,
we
something to
may
consider.
do something in Lions Park. And we wanted to see what kind of, if people hung around or not.
Yeah.
Besides hanging around for the awards. I mean, that's just typical, but a lot of people hung around afterwards.
Yeah.
And again, they kind of spread out to different places, so I think we'll build on that next year.
So would this replace what your son wanted to do?
The two have nothing to do with each other.
Okay.
No,
But he's still,
he's still trying.
okay.
But like I told Happy, and what's the guy's name I talked to? What's the guy that was? Yeah, no, the guy from the.
Jeff Wicks.
The
Tourism director?
Yes.
Jeff Wicks.
Jeff, I'm sorry. Yeah, the two have nothing to do with each other because you're talking about like somebody who runs a 100-meter versus somebody who does shot put. Gravel people are gravel people. It is rare that you have people that cross into the two. My son is one of the very few people who would do road races but also do gravel just because of how expensive.
Okay, so how's his plans coming?
His biggest plan right now is finding a week that you can put this on. This is almost like running a 5K. 20 years ago, if you had a 5K every other week, you're okay. Now you have 20 a week. So to put, 5K races, there's 10 of them every week, 20 of them. Right now, there's a circuit. And William did contact Matt, and they're working on some things that will only enhance the race itself. So I don't know how the other one is going to come about, just because every time he comes up with a weekend, he'll find out everybody is going to go to Iowa that week, or somebody's going to go to Virginia that week. These guys, like William did our race, the following week he was in Michigan. Last week he was in Virginia. This week he's in Oklahoma. They do tours. They do all kinds of places. So it's not as easy as he thought because you can't pinpoint a date. You can put a date, but if it's not the right date, nobody's going to come. And I am blown away that we thought 150 would be too many, and you ended up with that many people. So it's kudos for Matt and everybody else who did work on this one. It's awesome.
And one of the things is with TrailNet, they already had the organization set up, so we didn't have to worry about putting people out there. They knew how to put this together, and that's what made it successful.
Okay, movie in the park.
Ashley and I were just talking about this. She's going to be making a post this week about asking for sponsors and food trucks, trying to build some interest there. We're going to have the sponsors just write their checks directly to Sean. That way, when he sends us our final bill to the city for the licensing, he can just deduct whatever sponsors have paid for. So we have that going. But otherwise, we're just kind of sitting and waiting at this point.
When's the first?
June.
First Saturday of every month, June through October.
So you hinted at one time you want to do the movies like the Final Four. How did that idea come about? You know, like brainstorm as many movies as you possibly can.
Yes.
So lets people vote on your Final Four.
So they did do that. They voted through the whole month of March. He put up post. It was kind of like a big March Madness bracket. And so it went over really well. He put it on his page, and then we would share it on ours, and lots of people voted every day. So we ended up with, I forgot my phone, so.
Yeah, it's fine. I've got it memorized at this point. So in June, the first movie is going to be Hook with Robin Williams. And then July is going to be kind of a Christmas in July. So we're going to do Christmas Vacation. And that'll be the weekend before 4th of July. So you'll have July 2nd, and then 4th of July, I think, is on a Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday.
Monday.
Yeah.
Which I did see Gary had put out asking for opinions, but he did stay away from our that Saturday. So.
Yeah, and I think he's looking at doing his fireworks thing again but I'm sure he'll come to the board with whatever day he ends up with there.
Yeah, because I know he had something out there, whether Friday, Saturday, or
I think it was
Sunday.
like Friday, and he was looking at even the weekend before or doing it the day of, but I just remembered it was not on the same day this time. So.
Yeah. And then August is Dirty Dancing. Let's see, September is Encanto.
Yeah. That's probably the one.
However you pronounce it, the new Disney movie. And then the October movie will be Beetlejuice, the 80s classic. So
good variety in there.
Yeah, a lot of it is, it's going to pull those parents out that want to watch it too. These are movies that I even grew up watching, and I've talked to a few people and they're like, man, I'm so excited to show my kids these because it can be a little harder to find some of them these days. But last year, some of our movies kind of geared toward the youngsters, but by the time we're able to play the movie at nightfall, it's so late that they're either restless or need to go home and get cleaned up for bed or whatever else. So I think it's going to work out better this year with this lineup.
Any other business? Anybody got anything else?
Just again, a reminder, because I know with things happening at Valley Springs Park now, we are officially in the, I think you guys just had yours, you guys just did the leadership program this past week, didn't you? So ours for the park is set for September 21st. So kind of keep in mind ideas that you would like 12 to, actually, I think Dina told me that a lot of the people that, so in 2020 when she did leadership, a lot of them didn't get to finish their program because it was kind of early due to COVID. So she's offering them, I think they all missed out on 2 classes. So she's offering them to basically choose what they want. And oddly enough, a lot of them are choosing our work day. So you'll probably have anywhere from 12 to 20 volunteers to show up to do whatever we want them to at Valley Springs. So as we kind of go through the summer, just kind of keep it in mind.
And Steve didn't get to do the one that the city did their presentation, so he has like 20 to 30 minutes he'd love to talk to people like the leadership.
Sure.
Just go through stuff, all the technical information.
Yeah, and so kind of piggybacking on that, no, you don't even know what I'm going with. So this past week, last week on Monday, I got a last minute call to present the master park plan to the local Rotary Club. They needed somebody, they meet like every week and they try to bring in presenters throughout the community, and they needed somebody to fill the space, so I got a call from one of them to see if we could present last minute. I agreed because I didn't want to miss the opportunity. Certainly could have been more prepared, but I think it went well just to kind of introduce them to it. And because with our master plan, there is so much to talk about. So I think it was a good introductory and laid some groundwork that we can go, when we start getting projects, we can better present those to them, or gave me some insight of how to maybe better prepare a presentation for some of our community organizations, because with this leadership class with the chamber, they're going to want some sort of presentation on the master plan, where the parks are. So we'll have to think how we want to present that, who we want to present that, if it's something, work together, if Steve's going to do it, if a board member wants to be present, if you want me to do it, or whatever else. But we'll want to start thinking about that and not wait till the week before or the day before.
You might invite Nick and see if he's going to do the presentation.
Yeah.
And talk a little bit about how it came about.
Exactly. So.
Oh, the only other thing she did ask me in the email, which I assumed I was safe to say yes, the city would supply any and all like work gloves or supplies that they would need. So
We want to make sure whatever safety equipment they get, we get it.
that's kind of what I figured. So I just figured I was safe to say yes.
Okay, anything else? Any announcements? We have the,
Adjourn, motion?
Second.
all those, any discussion? All those in favor?
All right.
All right.